Welcome to another episode of the Bright Light Show. I hope you've all had a good week, that you've enjoyed your half term and that you've been able to chill out and relax a little bit. Got some really exciting news. It's not going to be that long, just 2 or 3 weeks, until we're going to be able to come back to church and see each other face to face. Good times. But this week, we're going to be thinking about a really famous person from the Old Testament. Now remember, our Bibles are split into two. There's an Old Testament and a New Testament. And the New Testament is all about the life of Jesus and the first followers of Jesus, who went on to be called Christians. And the Old Testament, which is about the Jewish people and their journey with God and their relationship with God. And our story today is about someone from the very start of that journey. Let's find out what happens.
The Faithful Hall of Fame. Abraham. This is Abraham.
Hey.
When Abraham was younger, he was known as Abram. Abram lived in a place called Haran. One day, God told Abram, "Leave your home with your family and go to a place that I will show you." So Abram traveled with his wife Sarai, their nephew Lot, and the rest of their family. The new land that they made home was crowded. Abram said to Lot, "Let's not fight. Is the whole land not before us? Let's split up. You go one way, and I will go the other way."
Aha!
So Lot looked to the left and to the right. He saw that the land of Jordan was well taken care of, so Lot chose to go the way that looked better to him. He took his family and they settled in the beautiful land, near the town of Sodom. Abram took his family and they moved the other way. Then one day, God said to Abram, "Look up. All the land you see will be blessed. I will give it to you and your family forever." Abram received the promise and the blessing because he was faithful.
Before we think about that anymore, I think it's time for a quiz. A quiz with Paul.
A quiz with Paul.
Hello children, it's good to see you again. I've got 5 more questions and these are true and false questions. So here's the first one. The Hebrew word amen means I have finished. Is that true or false? Now that's false. It means I agree, so be it, let it be. It's positive confirmation that you agree with what's been said. When the Israelites worshipped the golden calf, Moses prayed, "Oh God, free me from these pagan people." Is that true or false? Now that's also false. Moses prayed on behalf of the people, asked for God to forgive them for the mistakes that they had done, and prayed for the people. Number 3. Naomi prayed that her daughters-in-law would remarry. True or false? That's true. One of the daughters-in-law was Ruth, who went on to marry Boaz and was part of the line to Jesus. Number 4. Elijah asked to be known as God's servant when he challenged the prophet of Baal. True or false? That's true. He wanted to be known as God's servant. After the pagan sailors threw Jonah overboard, they gloated in victory and cursed God. Is that true or false? Now that is false. They in fact prayed to God. They didn't curse God, they prayed to God. There we are, that's 5 questions this week. Look forward to seeing you again in the future. Bye.
So earlier, we looked at the story of Abraham, or Abram, who went on to be called Abraham. And you can read all about that in the book of Genesis, which is actually the first book in the Bible. And there's a lot that we can learn and say about that story, because Abraham is a really important character for Christians, for Jewish people, and for Muslims. So why do we have this story? I mean, what does it mean? Well, a big part of this story is about journeys. Abraham started life in one place, in his village, in his town called Haran. And then he heard from God. And he goes on a journey, literally he goes on a journey, but also he goes on a journey with God, learning about this God and what this God wants. And he starts to live his life differently, and he ends up in a different place. And that's a little bit like us, right? The challenge that Jesus gives us is to leave our old ways of living and to try and follow the Jesus way. So we start off by living one way, and then we hear about Jesus and we try and follow Jesus and listen to the things that Jesus says. And that can be difficult. That can be like going on a journey. It's not a journey where we have to travel anywhere, but it's a journey of learning how to live differently. Like when Jesus says, love your enemies. That's hard, isn't it? It takes a lot of time to learn how to do that. Like when Jesus says, forgive other people. That's difficult. But by going on this journey, by trying to follow the Jesus way, we'll end up in a different place and we'll end up living differently. Just like Abraham started in one place, heard God, went on a journey, and ended up in a different place. We're living one way, we hear Jesus, we try and follow the Jesus way, and we'll end up living a different way. We'll end up living the Jesus way, or at least that's the challenge. But how did Abraham do that? I mean, it can't have been easy to go on that journey, can it? Well, a big part of the Abraham story is faith. Now, what do you think of when you hear the word faith? When I was younger, I used to just think that faith was about believing stuff. Faith was something I did in my head. It was all about believing the right things. And a big part of faith is about believing things. But the problem is, you can believe the right things without changing your behaviour. So I can believe all the right things and get big ticks, but I can still live in a way that isn't very kind to other people, that doesn't put other people first, that still makes me unkind and hurtful with my words and actions. But Abraham shows us a faith that changes his behaviour, that changes the way he's living, because he goes on a journey. And it also shows us a faith that trusts. Abraham trusted God, and then he acted on it, and he changed the way he was living, and he moved. And we can learn a lot from that, I think, because when we have faith in God, it's not just about what we believe, it's about trusting God and then acting on it, about living differently. And that's the challenge that Jesus gives us. Can we live the Jesus way? And living the Jesus way is about living. It's about the way we treat other people, about how I use my words and my actions. It's not just about what I believe in my head. And I think that's some of the things that we can learn from Abraham, because Abraham had great faith because he did something, he followed God, he acted differently, and he trusted what God was telling him. Right, we're going to do a craft now that's going to help us to unpack this story and think about it a little bit more.
Craft time.
Hello, Bright Lights. Our craft this week is going to remind us to trust God, just like Abraham trusted God in our story, especially when God needed him to do something big like move house. Now, if we were going to move house, we'd probably have a company with a big van and we'd put all our stuff in the back of the van. They didn't have vans in Abraham's day. What they did have was camels, and they used to put all their stuff on the back of camels and other animals. So what you're going to need to do is draw or print out a camel on a piece of paper, and then you're going to need to colour it in like I've done here. Then what you need to do is get an envelope like this, a smallish one that will fit over your picture, and then you can decorate it like I've done here. Now decorate the side that opens up, where the flap opens, you want to decorate that side. And then what you need to do is turn it over and put some glue on the back, and then you can stick your envelope onto your camel like that, and that is going to be where all the things are going to go for the moving house. Okay, so now what you need to do is, on another piece of paper, you need to draw or print out all the things that you think Abraham might have taken with him when he had to move house. So he might have taken his tent and a blanket, he might have taken some firewood, maybe some cooking pots and some water, some food, some clothes, and maybe some other animals. And when you've done that, colour them in and cut them all out. You can draw whatever you want, and if you don't want to draw what Abraham took with him, maybe you can draw what you might take with you if you were to move house. And then when you've done that, put all the things load them up onto the camel. There we go. Ready to move house. And then the last thing we're going to do is, I'm just going to turn this around a minute and then I'll take that. Is we're going to remind ourselves that we can trust God. Whatever he asks us to do, we can trust him, that he loves us and that he will be with us. See you next week. Bye.
What a great craft. Right, time for us to have another song.
I'm reading my B.I.B. early, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how J-E-S-U-S came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, oh. I'm reading my B.I.B. early, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how J-E-S-U-S came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. when you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door.
Takeaway. Number 1. Faith isn't just about believing the right things. It's also a behaviour thing, like our words and actions. Number 2. Abraham showed his faith by his actions, by the journey he went on, by the way he lived. Number 3. Following Jesus is also a bit like going on a journey. The challenge is for us to put our faith into action and to try and live the Jesus way. And there you go. There's our takeaway for this week. So that was the story of Abraham. Abraham who had great faith. Abraham who demonstrated his faith by changing the way he was living, by trusting in God. I hope you all have a lovely week. Stay safe. We can't wait to see you in a few weeks' time, face to face. And I can't wait to see you next week for another episode of The Bright Light Show. Boom!